CPI numbers are in and inflation is cooling. We were at 2.3%, which is the lowest in 4 years. It's still a little bit above the Fed's target of 2%, but we are one step closer to the money printer being fired up and Jerome Powell cutting the federal fund rate. Let's talk about it.
I'm just pumped because I'm going to go to the grocery store when we're done here. I'm going to buy some eggs because they're now.
Well, we had 2 rate cuts, right?
Last year.
Just last year. Mm-hmm. So they did reduce the rates, but then, I mean, that was right before the election. So that's typical. But now maybe some more soon.
You know, I thought it'd be funny. Like, remember last year we were talking about all the things that historically happen after an election, right? Like rates go down, house prices go up, home sales go up. So far, we've not seen that.
Nope.
Yeah, it feels like it's been delayed a little bit.
Very delayed.
I feel like it's been very strategic, though.
Yeah, I agree.
And when all that happens, at minimum, the stock market and crypto are definitely going to explode. I just have a hard time mentally going, and the housing market's going to explode. I'm like, the housing market doesn't need to explode. We need more sales, but we don't need the prices to go up.
Absolutely.
So that's the part that I have a hard time with. I'm like, that's going to be a trip if that happens.
It has to happen.
Agreed.
Well, I mean, it is supply and demand.
Prices, though. Okay, so NAR released a housing shortage tracker, and it's a map of the U.S., and you can go on and you can look at the housing inventory that's being built. So what they say is based on historical averages, there should be 1 permit issued for every 2 jobs. However, it's not the case in most metro areas. So you can go onto this map and you can find your area. So for instance, we're in Phoenix, so I'm pulling up Phoenix, and we have sufficient supply. So we're getting, that 1 permit per every 2 jobs. But you have some areers in the U.S. where they're just not increasing housing. And
Just
so
a housing shortage
right.
still.
And so is it the housing shortage? We've been told this. I don't know if I believe it anymore.
But there were like 3 million
right.
short or something.
We were told that we were like severely short housing across the U.S. And that's why prices went up and there was just no housing. Is that the truth though?
No.
I don't know.
It's not the truth.
I don't know. I mean, I think that
Housing shortage is because the interest rates were so low and people all
it
wanted
was
to buy
demand.
it. Buy more.
Like I said, it is still, to me, it's always general economics, supply and demand, right? If there's not enough buyers for the supply, prices go down. When there's a surplus of buyers, prices go up. So yes, if we can get rates down again, I mean, I'm with Keith. It is actually hard to think about prices going up, right? Because you have the median price in America that's roughly $425,000. And even at a 5% interest rate, you're talking about roughly a $2,500 a month mortgage payment, right? For the average family in America, that's still relatively a sizable amount of money, right? Like, especially when you get into like what's affordable. And if it's more than 30% of their income, it's not, it's not affordable, right? And you're talking gross. So
Yeah, but they need to get interest rates down to like 2% before we can really move the market.
Okay, or what about the 40-year mortgage? What about a 50-year mortgage?
I think
what about
that's what's coming.
amortizing over a
They did it
longer
with
period
cars.
of time? Exactly, I know. Exactly. You can get a car loan for like
8 years now.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Well, Tesla's, when they first came out, remember they had 10-year payments. They did that for a while, and that's how they made it so affordable, because they were like $100,000 when they first came out, and that's how they made them affordable. It was a 10-year loan.
I think the only way we could see a 40-year or a 50-year mortgage would be if the government would aggressively buy up mortgage-backed securities again.
Well, I would say that you would have to be like, in your 20s, or like maybe if you're under 30, you can get a 40, 50-year mortgage. But if you're over 30, you can only get 30 or something like
Wouldn't
that.
that be kind of discrimination, though? Because it's just amortizing the loan. I mean, I don't
discrimination.
think well, it is. It's kind of age discrimination.
It is age
Yeah, but they're gonna live longer, so they can pay a 40, 50-year mortgage
the average
off.
life now has gone up quite a bit.
Can you get
Are you gonna get a 50-year mortgage to a 75-year-old?
But why not? If the payment works.
Don't mind being,
If they put enough down, I guess.
Hey, it's a balloon payment when when you pass away.
I mean, you're going to give a 30-year mortgage to a 95-year-old? I mean,
That's true.
it's happened.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
happens.
So-
Exactly. It's happening.
Dude, that's when you get the reverse mortgage. They pay you, right?
Well, is there an age?
To me,
for
those
reverse?
are.
Yeah, you can.
You have to be a certain.
You have to be a certain age to get a reverse mortgage.
You do?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think over 75.
Oh,
So is that discrimination?
75.
I guess-
don't know what
Or
it
maybe
is,
you
but-
don't. I should be pulling that out of my ass. But
I thought you did, but
I thought you
I
did
think
too.
you could
I
be.
guess-
I
Let's
know you
Google
have
it.
to be a certain age.
Yeah,
too.
okay,
Yeah.
you do.
You'd be 62 and older.
Yeah,
62
most of them.
and older. That
Heckams.
sounds
Remember Heckams?
Yes.
So when we did REOs, we would get
We
Heckams.
get a
and
Heckum, yeah.
when we first started getting them, we're like, what the heck is a Heckum? But anyway, okay, so you need to be 62 or older to get a Heckum. So perhaps there could be like an age limit on a 40 or a 50-year mortgage. Something has to change.
I mean, that would definitely
Something
help.
has to change.
That would help first-time home buyers, like young people that
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
start families and
Yeah.
stuff. Or like yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah,
I would
that'd be
love
cool.
that for.
Would
Well,
you
and
get
I
a
wonder
50-year
what the
mortgage?
stat is of how.
You buy a house tomorrow if you get a 50-year
Exactly.
mortgage. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and it would just make
change
it
everything.
would make it so much more affordable. And not only that, like I actually wonder what the stat is of how many people ever have a paid off house, right? Because I think it's like, wasn't it like 20%? I think it's like of all houses in America, it's roughly 20% or so that are paid off. But
I thought it was more than
but
that.
individually,
Really?
I can't.
Pulling
I thought
out
more
of-
like 50%.
Yeah, I'm
are
trying
paid
to.
off.
There's a
Nah,
percentage
there is
that are
yeah.
free and clear.
Yes.
But how many people actually pay off the house
Ever.
or just buy them cash to begin with?
Yep.
Right? Like
Yep.
that we don't know. Interesting. I think most people roll into a new mortgage,
Agreed.
get, pull money out, use it kind of like a piggy bank. And there are reasons where it makes sense to do that. Like,
Yeah,
it's not always
absolutely.
a bad decision.
Oh, well, and especially like if you're smart with your money. And I mean, there's a lot of people that would argue, hey, if you can borrow money at 3, 4,
Yep.
5% and make 8%, that's a no brainer.
Right. Pull all
So,
that money out of your house,
yes.
put it in Bitcoin.
Yep. Exactly.
And there are people that do that.
Oh, yeah.
And then they post, how they're doing on X.
So there are between 38 and 40% of all homes in the U.S.
okay.
are fully paid off.
How many again?
38 to 40%.
40%.
38 to 40%.
Fully paid off, but does that, again, we still don't know if they went into it and bought it cash. It's free and clear.
Oh, yeah. Just
Yeah.
free and clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying is how many people ever pay off their house is what, I didn't really communicate that very clearly, but that's such a good stat regardless. But like how many people ever get a mortgage and then end up paying it off, right? Or do you just roll it?
Right.
Roll it.
I mean, you want to keep rolling it because your interest rates on a mortgage is so cheap. mean,
I
you
agree.
can
And
pull
not
all
only
your money
that,
in.
We were
cash
talking
is
about that
when we were
is
looking
is
at
an
People-
inflationary asset, right?
Yeah.
So
I
that's,
mean, the richest people have mortgages on their houses.
Exactly.
And they always have.
It's just
Exactly.
such cheap money.
Well, yeah,
The
you
interest rate on a mortgage is typically so cheap.
well, and you could write off the interest. There's a lot of things that you can do. So
Okay, here's a Reddit story that I think we will all relate to.
Okay.
It's from a home seller. It's in the real estate Reddit channel. Need advice on price cuts. Regret overpricing. Want to sell ASAP. Hi, all. I'm a seller who overpriced my home and learned the hard way. My house has been on the market since October, around 15 showings, 630 Zillow views, 30 saves, but no offers. It's fully remodeled, and I originally priced it way too high, about $100,000 above break even, because I had unrealistic expectations. The home is in a touristy area with many out-of-state buyers. We're currently listed at $589, but similar homes are selling for $490 to $520. Competing listings are around $530 to $540. I realize now that keeping the price high only hurt me, costing time and money, and I'm ready to price it properly. I plan to drop the price by $10,000 every 2 weeks until it reaches $530 by late July. Does that strategy make sense? I don't expect an instant offer, but I'm hoping to revive interest.
You're too late.
yeah, you're too late. And not only that, but you're absolutely chasing the market in that scenario. You need to like price to get in line with the market to capture the available buyers right now. Otherwise, you're just contaminating your listing more and more and more.
Well, there was a ton of comments on this, and overwhelming what people were saying is that if you take that strategy, buyers are just going to save that listing on Zillow, and they're going to wait every 2 weeks to watch
Yep.
you lower that price, and then they're going to come in a couple months and offer you even less. So what's a strategy? What should this guy? He should just
I mean, if you really want it, you want the strategy, you lower or keep or start at a low price and market it for 30, 45 days and just say, I won't accept anything until 30, 45 days.
Well, number one, what
The
they need to do
72
is
sold strategy.
fire
Until you
their
get somebody
agent,
that,
because
you
their
know-
agent that allowed them to say, hey, if you're going to realistically sell your house at $100,000 over value, like it wouldn't even appraise. Again, at $589, the majority of those buyers are going to not be paying cash. So,
But on
it's
the
not
other
gonna
hand, there
appraise.
are some properties
Yes.
that where you just don't know what people are willing to pay.
True.
There's a lot of properties that you just do know. I mean, hey, it's going to sell for this much, and it's not going to sell for any more. But there are some properties that like oversized lots, certain lots that are in certain parts of the neighborhood or
Sure.
have different views that you just don't know if they're
the
they're
market
willing
will
to
surprise you.
pay $300,000 more than that or whatever. I mean, I've definitely been surprised before.
Keep in mind on this too, this is what the homeowner said, that
Yeah.
it was only $100,000 over market.
Yeah.
That means it was more like 150.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
They laid that tile themselves.
yeah.
No, he said it was gorgeous, fully
Oh
remodeled.
yes.
Beautiful home.
Fully remodeled.
That meant new paint.
I think it's so important to price properly from the beginning, but you can have those outliers that warrant,
For sure.
pushing pricing, and you should. But I think that you should also watch it and not allow it to get this long.
One other quick note on that too. But we're talking dollars in this. Like $100,000 on $1 million house is a heck of a lot different than $100,000 on a $500,000 house. So when you're talking about said he was priced at $589, that means he should have been priced at $489. Dude, that's a substantial amount when you're talking percentage.
He did also mention that it was in a touristy area, so I'm guessing a lot of vacation rentals. And are we finally going to see the Airbnb bust? So Redfin
sell-off.
published some reporting, and they said that the demand for vacation homes is the lowest since 2018. So it's way before the pandemic. And what they found is that there are way fewer mortgages being taken out for second homes. Are we going to see a sell-off? Are we going to see some of these vacation rentals coming back on market, which might be good for those housing shortage areas?
Certainly be good for HOAs and complaints, right? And those Airbnbs in the neighborhood. Oh, this is just a party house.
I mean, there are several. I mean, HOAs that don't even allow.
Oh yeah, they changed
their.
their.
Yeah, they start these neighborhoods now.
Yep.
Like all the Toll Brothers neighborhoods in Queen Creek, they don't allow VRBOs. It's in their.
Yep.
It's in their.
It's like a 30-day minimum.
No, 90.
Oh, is it 90?
90. Yeah.
In some of
90-day
those.
minimum?
Yeah.
Okay,
So basically,
interesting.
you're not gonna rent for short term at all.
We've seen a couple properties every now and then when you actually look through that, because I never think about it when we're buying a property, but every now and then we'll get a buyer that says, hey, is there HOA restrictions for rentals? And I'll go look, and there's been a couple times I've seen 12 months.
Oh,
They
wow.
require a 12-month lease if
Wow.
someone's
Yep,
gonna.
I've seen that, especially like
And
in
I was
condo
like,
communities.
oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyone want to guess where demand is falling fastest?
Yeah, Florida.
Okay, but what part? It's only on my screen.
The bottom of it was Miami.
Like Miami.
Yeah, man. Did you look at my screen?
No, I would imagine.
But Miami also, like,
Yeah, I
it
mean-
was like 3 years ago that you could buy a nice house for like $350 in Miami, and you can't sniff a decent house now there for like less than $600,000.
And there, yeah, because the amount of appreciation in that
Yes, it
area
was
was
insane.
just crazy.
So I said it was
I mean,
like
Sailor talks about it all the time.
yeah,
So
it was like
Yeah.
had like 100% appreciation in like a 3-year
it's
window.
where everyone was going to buy to get a bunch of real appreciation.
So Miami was number 1, followed by 4 other Florida metros: Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and Tampa.
Fort
about to say, I was
Lauderdale
like,
and West
Tampa's
Palm
gotta
Beach
be
are all
Tampa
down there
had to,
too.
yeah, the Tampa Clearwater area.
Well, we're just looking at a Tampa property now, and the whole area is, half the sheetrock is missing through all the properties because of the floods. So
Yeah.
That's
It
sad.
is
And when was that?
wild how
The
much
floods
that's-
were in October, September,
6 months
October?
something
ago.
like that, yeah.
so
but
like a
and,
long time ago.
and
Still,
it seems like majority, more than half of what's on the market, properties have not been put back together.
Wow.
well, and some of them
That's
don't
sad.
they even in the neighborhood still have like all like the piled up trash from like the bulldozers that came in.
Most of it's gone.
Not from what I'm seeing
Okay.
there. The
But, I
houses
mean,
are just.
But the property is amazing. Like it's literally you walk like 200 yards and you're on the beach.
Yeah.
Oh,
on the
that's awesome.
sand. But these are houses that are only $250,000, $300,000. But they're gonna flood again. So you're gonna remodel it.
and
And
then,
then 2 years later, you could have a big hurricane
I
and
mean, it
flood the
did
whole
okay
thing.
for like 100 years.
mean,
I'm not discounting that it could happen again, but
This happened to Anna.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They had their
They
house
said,
flooded in
"Screw it."
Tampa.
Yep.
Literally a year later, after
Flooded
they
again.
remodeled, flooded again.
Yep.
It's like, what do you do?
And then
at
they
some point?
sold.
Yeah, you're like,
They're like,
F
we're
this.
done. Yeah,
yeah,
not for me.
they're going to start building houses on stilts there.
They already
yeah,
are.
they need
yeah.
to do something. Yeah, I mean, if you want a second home, you want a vacation home, you definitely don't want to have to remodel that home every year and a
Like,
half.
oh, here
to
comes
2
a
years.
hurricane.
Well,
All
and not
right.
only that, insurance, right? Like, I mean, the insurance is just insane. So you pay $250 for the house, and you're paying $100K a year in insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So instead, you build it on stilts and you keep your 100,000 and you don't put insurance on it, right? Build
I was
on
going to say, I wonder if
40
like,
foot stilts. You're
You've
like,
got that
I'm
risk.
the only one standing.
That risk hormone, like Keith, you and Keith take.
Yeah.
like Go-Go
risk.
Gadget stilts too. How much is the
Yeah.
surge this time?
Well, we did buy one in Florida once where we're like the insurance was so high, we're like, let's just roll the dice on this one. And it worked out.
Don't tell anybody.
So we found a cool video of Brian Tracy. This has got to be one of his first videos. We're gonna watch it. Let's react. It's pretty good.
Think and talk only about the solutions. Because of the law of concentration, because of the law of substitution, because of the law of attraction, what happens? Well, I'll tell you what happens. Most people talk about the problems all the time. They think about the problems, they worry about the problems, they vividly imagine the problems, they discuss the problems, and they have more and more and more problems. The law of substitution says if you think and talk about the problems, your mind is going to become preoccupied with negativity. The law of attraction says if you think and talk about the problems, you're going to attract more problems into your life. The law of correspondence says that the more you think and talk about problems, the more they preoccupy your mind, the more your external world is going to be characterized by problems. The difference between winners and losers, heroes and non-heroes, successes and failures is that successful people, winners, are solution-oriented. They are solution-oriented. They think about the solutions. They talk about the solutions. They're always asking this question. Here is the big question. What do we do from here? What can we do from here? In other words, they are always future-oriented, always oriented toward the future. Losers are always oriented toward the past. Losers always want to know who did it, who's to blame, who's responsible, how do we cut our losses. The winner always looks forward and says, where do we go from here? What do we do from here? What's the solution from here? How can we improve this situation? How can we adjust, adapt, modify, and so on?
That's a good one, Jay.
I would not have even known that was Brian Tracy, though.
I know. When I saw that,
I was like, wait,
like,
what?
So
I'm like, man, he's young. It does not look like that was the original Brian Tracy
Yeah.
video.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't. When you brought it up, I'm like, I don't. Are you sure?
Yeah, no, I was like, wait, what? Okay,
yeah,
so
to me, what you focus on expands, right?
Yeah.
I mean, kind of just summing it all up, and it is real. Not sounding too hocusy pocusy, but we're energy, right? And you can be positively charged or negatively charged, and the choice is yours.
That's right. Yep.
yeah, absolutely. I think that everyone has problems. You can't do life without them. And
Life would be boring without problems, honestly, right? Think about it. If
but
everything was easy.
Yeah. So I think in relation to real estate and to real estate agents, we know that it is a tough market. And the agents that are out there and they're making things happen are definitely focusing on where do we go from here?
What's the
What do we
solution?
do? How do we get in contact with more people? How can we have more meaningful real estate conversations?
Yep.
How can we create better marketing that actually speaks to the buyer, the seller that we're looking to work with? And they're the ones that are focusing on that instead of focusing on, the commission changes, the low inventory, nobody wants to sell, nobody's buying. So yeah, I definitely think that
I think it's a switch
This
of
offer's no good.
Yeah. I think it's a switch of the
that one.
language, the language of instead of like it's a problem. What is the challenge? Instead of the problem.
I like that.
I think you hear a lot of people say, oh, the problem is the problem is.
We definitely
no,
hear
what's the
that.
challenge and what is the solution to it? Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's a good little education piece, and it makes who you are too. Tony Robbins talks about that. His mom used to like beat him and stuff, right? And
Yep,
and he
absolutely.
goes, I wouldn't be the man I would be today if my mom didn't
If
do
that
to me."
didn't happen.
But, yeah.
Yeah,
Hard
I
to
really like
accept,
what you
though.
said. That why are you praying and then trying to take back control on everything? Because I think that's just our worldly self, right? A lot of times we want to put it in God's hands, right? A lot of these statements I think people live off of, but then we try to control everything, and oftentimes we try to control the things we can't control versus the things we can control, such as our attitude, such as finding the solution and not the problem, not speaking to the problem. Speak to the solution.
So I guess the moral of the story is if you're going to let Jesus take the wheel, let him.
Let him.
Thanks for tuning in. If you have anything to add to the conversation, leave us a comment, hit that like button, and be sure to ring the notification bell so you get updated of our new episodes.